massive welcome from the Celtic Exchange to Sean, Patrick and Clinton from the Pittsburgh CSC as we continue with CSC Stories, where we speak with Celtic supporters across the globe to hear their stories. Lads, great to have you with us here today on the Celtic Exchange. Sean, just to get us started, you guys are a relatively new CSC, formed in 2020, I think, but can you tell us a bit about how the club first came to be and how the setup all arrived?
Sure, and thanks for having us, Tino. It's an honor to be on a great pod like yours, so we're excited to talk to you a bit. So the way that our club started was basically Clinton and I had been friends, acquaintances, like throughout the years, being that we're both musicians. And as far as Pittsburgh goes, I think that there was really, up until relatively recently, really only a couple places that would show football, and on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And one of the main bars was called Piper's Pub in the south side of Pittsburgh. And I think it was probably late 2019. It was definitely pre-pandemic that Clinton and I just kind of met there one day, and Clinton kind of gave me a little nudge to be like, hey, I really want to try to start getting into watching football, and how do I go about picking a team? So I just gave him the advice that, well, you basically kind of just pick a team, and then once you have that team, then you can really start getting into the watching it, learning the players, learning the history and stuff like that. Of course, my team was Celtic, so I kind of nudged him towards Celtic. And then unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and we kind of started watching. We decided we're going to start watching the matches in Clinton's backyard. So that was the 2020-2021 season, that infamous season that we all like to forget. And and so throughout the whole of the pandemic 2020-2021 season, we kind of like just got together and watched every match and in Clinton's backyard. So it kind of started out with like me, Clinton, Clinton's friend Jason, his wife Jackie, my wife Katrina, my buddy Jay. So, and then we kind of just started watch that. And then as the pandemic wound down, a bartender friend of ours who was the main guy at Piper's Pub, Brian Muha, he was able to open up a small little, he was friends with a guy that owned a small little bistro in the north side of Pittsburgh called Leo. And he opened up for EPL and for us, and that kind of attracted Patrick, a couple other people, and then that really was what really helped us start to grow our numbers. And then about I guess in 22, 23 maybe, Cork Harbor opened up, and they were looking for an anchor club for their bar because they wanted to start showing the football. And it just so happened to be an Irish bar, and we kind of got hooked up with them, and things have just grown exponentially from there when it comes to our numbers. And they'll open for every match over here. A lot of those noon kickoffs are 7 a.m. Yeah. So it's not easy. But they've been amazing and really helped us grow to a point now where it's just really quite unbelievable for me, as somebody who has been watching Celtic for a while, but never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that it would have turned into something like this.
Yeah, and it's great to hear the growth of the club, and I know you've got some big plans to celebrate your upcoming anniversary, and we'll get to that later in the piece. I admire your resilience from starting in the 2020-21 season, because that was a grim watch for all of us. So if you've come through that, I can assure you it doesn't get too much worse, touch wood, moving forward. And it's great that you've got that base at the Cork Harbor Pub, and I'm sure you've got a good working relationship there. Sean, I'll catch Clinton and Patrick's stories just shortly, but You say that Celtic have been your club for some time. Why Celtic? You've got the choice of clubs across the globe. What drew you to Celtic?
Well, I think the not only my kind of ethnic history, growing up Irish Catholic, um, that kind of drew me. I first kind of learned of Celtic in the, I guess it was probably the late '90s, but really that was only because of, it was kind of a weird story that the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are our National Hockey League team, the cable channel that used to show those games, for some reason also showed SPL games at like weird hours, and maybe after a hockey game, they would come on, and I when they showed Celtic, I was really attracted first and foremost by the hoops. And then as I got to learn more and more about the club, what really drew me in was just the kind of the ethos of the club, the charity component, the anti bigotry, all inclusive, that kind of stuff. And I think that really resonated with me to really become a fan, and it's just been that way since.
Yeah, great to hear. Clinton, good to meet you here, and obviously Sean, I suppose you've got Sean to thank for introducing you to Celtic. Before I get your own, story on Celtic and how you came to start following the club, Sean mentioned you guys are musicians. So what do you play? Are you in a band? Is it something you do together? Is it something you work at?
Yeah, so Sean is an excellent drummer, and we have done a few projects together, but I'm a singer, and I just knew him from kind of the Pittsburgh music scene.
Okay.
And he had a great band, and I was in a band, and we would find ourselves on shows together and different things. But just became friends, and then probably started bumping into him more at Piper's Pub, to be honest. And I saw there was such a wonderful culture of football lovers at Piper's Pub, of all different kind of supporter teams and whatnot. But I would go there just because I really enjoyed their breakfast and a cold pint in the morning. And I was trying to find my way to a club, and trying to find a way of how to love the game, because I did, watching it, I appreciated it. I just didn't have a team, and Sean kind of led me to Celtic. I know he said it very humbly as he explained it, but he was pushing Celtic to me the whole time, I think, which I'm grateful for. And it's just through music, Sean and I had the connection, and he brought me to football. So grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, the 2020-21 season, tough times, wasn't really happening for us. But since then, Clinton, we've had some real successes, some good times under Ange, a lot to enjoy for 2 years under Ange, and we're back on the success trail under Brendan Rodgers, a double in his first season back at the club, and all going well. A bit to go, but on track certainly for a treble. Has there been some real highs for you during those last few years?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, as Sean mentioned earlier, my first year with the team wasn't the best. I felt like I got some, got brought into the club the hard way a little bit, which is fine by me. I want to earn my stripes. But it's been there's been some wonderful football to watch, and also a big high point, just getting down to Washington D.C. and seeing the club live for the first time meant a lot to me, and that was a big high moment. And yeah, the play has been great. My first year wasn't, so yeah, earned my stripes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask about that. So obviously Celtic were in the States last summer on tour, playing against Man City and Chelsea, and a huge buzz, in the US Celtic supporting community when those games were announced. How good was it to get there and see the team in the flesh?
The energy was unbelievable. I really I couldn't believe it. I know that some of the fellas got to some other matches. I only made it to Washington D.C. And they played DC United. They were great hosts. The CSCs from all over the states were representing themselves well, and everyone was just kind and joyous, and so excited to see the hoops. I think it was unbelievable. And then they played a tremendous match. I know they are just, friendlies, but it was really enjoyable to watch, and I just kind of was in awe the whole time.
Yeah, and great to hear of the the high energy. For once, it was us back here in Scotland having to tune in at crazy hours to watch Celtic, but for you guys, that's kind of the norm. So, all's fair when it comes to that. Patrick, great to have you here joining us on the show. I don't know if you're a musician or not. You can maybe fill us in, but tell us about your own introduction to Celtic.
No, I am not. I'm the lone non-musical member. I ran into Clinton in, I think it was 2021, coming out of the pandemic. Our local neighborhood pub reopened, and they wanted to show football. And I ran into Clinton there for Manchester Derby, and he and I sat at the corner of the bar and got to talking. And he said, "Hey, do you like Celtic?" I said, "Yeah, I like Celtic. I grew up in the States playing football from the age of 5. Through to into my 40s playing in adult leagues here, just casual. So I've always been aware of football. I've always known about a lot of the clubs in Europe. And Celtic, obviously the iconic hoops kit is just unmissable. It's unmistakable. So it's a huge draw. So I said, yeah, I'd love to come out. I said, "Oh, when are you going to watch them?" "Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So I drug myself in a little late, and I met up with some of these guys, and they're a great crew of people. They support a great club. I mean, as we all get older and we have more access to the internet where you can really learn about the history of some of these clubs, you really start to learn about the ethos of the club and the politics and the charity of the club. And I think those are the kinds of things that really attract people to the club, not just the football, but the politics too.
Yeah, and the charitable side of things, and I think a couple of you guys have mentioned that already in the recording. It's something that comes through time after time. As I say, we've done 5 recordings with other CSCs at this moment in time, a couple of other CSCs in the States, and I think almost every one of them, if not everyone, mention the charitable side of Celtic and how important that is to them. And some of them have got their own initiatives and drive, at a club level. But the ethos and that side of Celtic is something that really draws them in. Patrick, I'll stay with you at the moment. You guys have all got various roles at the club. So do you want to tell us a wee bit about your own role and perhaps what that entails?
So I am the fundraising chairman for Pittsburgh Celtic. Once the club, probably 2023, when it really looked like we were really turning out really sustainable crowds, I think we'd have 24 people on a Saturday morning. We'd have 50, 60 people for a Glasgow derby. Once we realized that we were consistently turning out those numbers, we had the conversation about, how do we leverage this for good? Like, how do we make something out of this? There are supporters clubs all over the place, and people just get together and watch football, and that's great. But we want to do more than that. And I think I really appreciate Sean and everybody for kind of giving me the opportunity to kind of run with that. So we've started doing that in 2023, and we've raised probably, I think, about $5,000 for charities, locally, internationally, and we're really proud of that. It's just it's important to us to be able to give back to our community.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to hear of that. You mentioned or almost mentioned a term, football for good, and it's a term that's attached to the foundation at Celtic, the Supporters Club Foundation. The Celtic Foundation ran by the club. The guys I spoke to in Detroit, specifically Sean Kelly, they do a lot of good charity work as well, and I'm pretty sure that's their tagline, and it's just so effective, and it works perfectly on that front. Clinton, I'll come back to you in terms of your own role. What is it you undertake at the club?
As I would, I'd say more of just as a part of we have a nice admin team who works really hard to help put together our Phala, and more. I'm kind of a all use kind of. I don't have an official title outside of part founder. Just help where help's needed. We have a great admin team that communicates of things that need to be done, and just kind of step up where step up needs to happen. And I'll be a little bit of a voice of the club, if that's fair to say, and
Okay.
literally, not just figuratively. Not afraid to hop on a microphone and speak to our group, and but everybody kind of does that too. So I would say just part of a great committee of people that make Pittsburgh Celtic happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys know as well as, if not more than me, that these kind of things can't happen with just one or two guys. It's very much a case of many hands making light work. Sean, I'll come back to you. I believe you're president of the club, so if you can tell us a wee bit about that role, and also the fact that you've managed to make it to Glasgow, to Celtic Park for a couple of games, and how those experiences have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say I'm the de facto president. We don't really have too much formality, I think, to our club at this time. But as far as when it comes to kind of liaisoning, however you say that, with like JP Taylor.
Yeah.
Or other CSCs in North America. We have really, really good, strong connection with a lot of other clubs in the States and in Canada. So I think that that's probably my main roles at this moment in the club, and just just general organizing. I think Clinton should take a little bit more credit for a lot of what he's done to get people to be involved in the club. Being a great spokesperson. I mean, a lot of people do that, but when we were really starting out, Clinton was really instrumental in kind of. I mean, he's a big personality. A lot of people know him, and that really brought in a lot of people into the club who really had no history with Celtic, let alone football. So that was really kind of a special and meaningful, part. As far as my experiences in Glasgow, I absolutely love Glasgow. I would move there in a second, but I guess let's see, when was the first time I've been over? 2017 maybe was the first time I was there. That was Rogers. Rogers was still there. Got to go to an away match at Dens Park. Got to see who did I see? Celtic play Hearts. Been over. I was over another time. Didn't get to go to a match, but got to do the Celtic Park tour, which was unbelievable. That was actually, I think that was a Glasgow derby at Ibrox that time, and then got to go over another. What was that, last year maybe? Was at that Motherwell draw. It was kind of when I think Palma missed the penalty. But I have a lot of friends over there now. Primarily, I have a good friend who used to live in Pittsburgh, who's from Aberdeen, season ticket holder at Celtic Park, Dan Byrne, and met him actually at Piper's when Rangers first came up in, what was that, the 5-1 demolition. That's when we first met. But so he's back over in Aberdeen, so I usually kind of hook up with him whenever when I'm over and we go to the match. But just I can't really express how awesome it is to be at Paradise for a match, and just the whole environment and feeling you get being there, walking around the park and seeing everybody so into it. It's really not, there's very few things in the States that are like that.
Yeah, and great that you've been able to enjoy those experiences. Being in the away crowd at Dens Park or otherwise, that can be a lively experience. That can be something different altogether. But I'm glad you've been able to enjoy that. And hopefully Clinton and Patrick will get an opportunity at some point, who knows when, but it'd be great if you guys could make it over at some point for a game here in Glasgow. Patrick, Sean was talking about some of the other CSCs and the relationships, that you guys have. I'm sure, you're communicating in different ways. How important is that, to you guys as a network of US-based supporters clubs? And what is the connection like? Is there good, strong relationships between yourself, for example, and various others?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. The easiest point is we just celebrated our 5th anniversary. We had our Fela here in Pittsburgh. I think that's probably 3 weeks ago. Sean and his wife Katrina and I were out in Philadelphia. I think it was 2-3 years ago for the 2nd Street Plowboys. They had their annual Fela, and we got to meet with their board and a bunch of their members, and we had a lot of really constructive conversations with them, and they were really proud of how our club was growing, like how our numbers were getting bigger and bigger. And we discussed, like, hey, our 5th anniversary is coming up 2025, and they said, hey, you know what, you're doing it, you're going to throw the party. And it's that motivation that really kind of lit the fire under us to, like, say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to throw a party. We're going to have CSCs from all over. We're going to have CSCs from Canada. We're going to have CSCs from all over the States, and everybody's going to come out. We're going to have a great time. And if it was, shouts to Seamus, big credit. If it wasn't for the collaboration with some of those CSCs, we wouldn't have pulled off, a weekend long Fela like we did. So I think it's really important, that we have those conversations. We've traveled our members have traveled all over the country to see a bunch of different CSCs in their travels: New York, New Orleans, Cleveland, Detroit, Florida. I can't remember where. Clinton, were you in Orlando? I can't remember for sure, but we've been all over the place. And so we are always having conversations with those CSCs about, what they're doing, what can we steal? What ideas can we steal? Things like that. But yeah, I mean, we enjoy having a lot of really good conversations with those CSCs. They're a really good driving force.
Yeah, and it's really good to hear. What is it they say? The best artists steal, don't they? That's the thing. So it sounds like a good tactic. I'll get back just shortly in the recording to the 5th anniversary celebrations. My mistake, I thought they were still to come. Turns out they've been, so we'll get a chat about what that looked like. But before that, Clinton, tell me about match day at the Pittsburgh CSC from start to finish. What does a day look like for a typical Celtic game in there?
Well, at Sean mentioned our place, Cork Harbor Pub, depending on time, it can, for the early ones, let me start with the 7s, because we take a lot of pride in being there at 7 in the morning. It can be a light start on a Saturday or Sunday. In the state of Pennsylvania, we cannot legally serve alcohol till 9 a.m. So some mornings we have to be a little more patient to get things going to celebrate our club, which is fine, and coffee helps. But no, it not just the back to the start of this, when it was, just a few of us in my driveway, we would, kind of start the same way. But now that we're in this pub, so many folks showing up, it could be walking into 20, 30, 40, 50 folks some weeks, depending on time and availability. But it's unbelievable. And everybody, if the team's playing good, everybody has that a little different energy. I don't want to mention last week, but when the team was not doing well, the energy was different. So point being that the team drives the energy of the space and everybody's mood, and everybody's there for the match and to really root on our squad. And that is, in my opinion, just super cool and somewhat unbelievable. But and as we go and we celebrate our wins, just like you would think anybody would, a lot of hooting and hollering, a lot of singing. Not due to me, even though I'm a singer. Sorry, I'm not I don't start the most chants. But we have a great group of folks that really lead the way on some traditional, wonderful songs. And it's, I don't know. I know what people say when they come. They're like, "This is unbelievable," and I just say, "Thank you for being here." And I just kind of try to soak it in every week. So, and then when it finishes, we all just try to get home and think about next week. So that's start to finish. A lot of, hard to get there, a lot of joy, and then we get home somehow. That's the destination.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, and who knows, maybe one day I'll get to experience that for myself. Sean, just to come back to you on Celtic at the moment, obviously we've spoken about the fact that, we're on track certainly for a treble, and yeah, last week wasn't great, was it? But there's some good things, a lot of good things happening actually in the club, making progress in Europe and continuing to dominate domestically. Who do you like at the moment? Do you guys side towards the US guys, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty, maybe even Alistair Johnson, up in Canada? Would they be amongst your favourites, or is there others that you go for, Sean?
I obviously love to see the American presence at Celtic. I think that, CCV and Trusty have done really well this year. Obviously, I think CCV is probably, one of the best, defensive players we've had in quite some time. I think right now, though, I'm just loving what Dies and Maida is bringing to the table. I think that it's really incredible, especially after losing Kyogo, that he can step in, into that part and honestly probably be an upgrade as to what Kyogo used to bring us, and just so exciting to see him just run and really love him right now.
Yeah, he's been absolutely amazing, and Kyogo was such a hero, and he left via the back door, didn't he? And we all think, how do you replace a guy like Kyogo? Now, separately to this chap, I do think we should have replaced him by buying a striker in January. However, the performances and the goals and the return in general from Dies Maida, it's just been incredible, and it's great to watch. Patrick, what about yourself? Any favourites? Any players stand out?
Obviously, the U.S. boys are up there. Alistair Johnson's been a revelation. To see him step into the lineup. I think his first real match was the Derby, and he was completely fearless, and we love that quality about him. I'm really liking Nicholas Kuhn. He's been a revelation. He's finally coming good. He's old Ajax and old Bayern product, and he's finally coming good. Making a lot of contributions, so I think that's really important. I'd like to see Ida get a little bit more up front, bullying around a little bit up front and getting some more goals. But the variety in attack is really a joy to watch right now, to see, the pace up front, and then we can switch it up and we can bring in Ida, and he can do a little hold up. He can do some bullying around. I think it's been really good. I think there's still some more adjustments to make, and I still think we have a few more players that probably need to get into this lineup. Like you were saying in January, we probably needed a striker. So I think there's a little bit of room for improvement, but that's kind of who I've had my eyes on.
Yeah, and we chat obviously frequently on the podcast. We do the weekly show and pre and post match episodes. And at one point within the last week or two, we were discussing the fact that there's so many players to be excited about at this moment in time. You've talked about Kuhn and Maeda. There's Jota, the return of Jota, which has been amazing. Arnie Engels, I'm a big fan of Engels. Rio Hatate picks up some headlines. Kieran Tierney's returning. We've not got that yet, but we'll look forward to KT's return. What about yourself, Clinton? Any standouts for you?
Well, I love to see an angry Jota.
Angry Jota.
When he got a little angry during that last Rangers match, and that was just something to see. He played with fury. Now, I really do love him, but one of my favorite things about sports overall is when players look different on the field than everybody else, and Dyson Maeda just looks different. He's on a different plane, and he just looks faster, quicker, and works harder than anybody else on the pitch, and that's something that I've really enjoyed witnessing since. It's kind of, I always liked him and knew he was great, but it's an emergence since Kyogo's departure. But it's very noticeable. And I love when sports do that. You just see, oh, that player is on a different level than everybody else, and this is what it's all about. So yeah, he's my standout.
He's such a unique talent. I don't think I've been watching football a long time, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Certainly at Celtic Park, but actually in in the global game, Dyson Maeda is so unique in terms of his high energy and his pressing, his mentality, and ultimately, you know, the returns, the goals and the assists. It is great to see. Sean, just in terms of a quick one, and it's hard maybe to pin one down given Celtic's success in the last few seasons at least, but what would be your standout memory from watching a game? You know, I'm thinking there was a Scottish Cup final, a late Adam Ida winner quite recently. There's been some big nights in Europe, you know, this season alone. There's been treble successes, trophies aplenty. Any standout memories, Sean? Any big days for you?
I'd have to say the Aberdeen Scottish Cup final.
Tom Rogic.
When Tom Rogic, yeah. I mean, I just remember I was at my wife and I were at Piper's Pub watching the match, and it was packed. It's kind of a restaurant bar, and you don't really see a lot of Aberdeen supporters in Pittsburgh, but there happened to be a table of them down on the other end of the bar, and I just remember then there's this is kind of a funny story, and these guys will know who I'm talking about, but there's a kind of a sports talk show host in Pittsburgh named Mark Madden, and he's kind of like over the top, kind of wrestling heel type guy, but he's tries to stir controversy. But I just remember watching the match. Tom Rogic scored. I'm sitting at the table, and he's walking back from the bathroom, and I just get up, you know, jump out of my chair and almost like punch him right in the face as he's walking back to the bathroom. But yeah, that's probably one of the I would say that one, and then the Barcelona Tony Watt game. That's another huge memory for me.
A couple of huge moments, a couple of really iconic Celtic games, you know, at least in modern history. Patrick, any standouts, whether it's, you know, something more recent or anything that jumps out for you as a biggie?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would stay a little more recent, just kind of hope for the future. The playoff round against Bayern Munich. I think that we were very unlucky to not have progressed. I think we were really good. The away leg at Bayern, we were very good and very unlucky not to get through. And I think that's really good for us moving forward, to show that we can stand up to some of the biggest teams in Europe and hold our own. And, you know, I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement there, that we can really we can pull a shocker. And I think that tie with them is really a good example of that.
Yeah, it's really encouraging because we have struggled at times in Europe. Actually, for the most part, since the turn of the century, we've not had great success. The Barcelona game is obviously a standout, but consistently getting to knockout stages hasn't been a thing for us. And it was so encouraging to not only, you know, make it to the playoffs, but to really go toe-to-toe with what's a brilliant Bayern Munich side. Clinton, just finally yourself, have you nearly knocked out any other prominent broadcasters in the Pittsburgh area, like Sean?
I keep my eyes out for them, you know. No, but I don't know. There's a lot of matches, but I do have to make note, you know, as a newer fan, and just getting to understand the immense rivalry between Celtic and Rangers. Those games feel different. They're different, and I think they are to everyone. But especially here with our club, they just have the energy is different. Everyone's a little more focused in. We know and respect what rivalry means here in Pittsburgh with our sports franchises, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, just when things feel a little more purposeful, and every Rangers Celtic match that I've ever been at has just been unbelievably awesome. And then just like the energy is just so palpable. And then as we introduce more and more people here in Pittsburgh to Celtic, and them I always try to have them have that as their first experience, because I find it to be the most of note. And just, I don't know, those mornings, I turn the music up a little louder. The day is a little brighter, and we go into war. What it feels like, and the match ends how it ends. But I just every Rangers Celtic match, the feel of it, the joy of the people around, just in taking it in. Those days mean the most.
Yeah, and most of those games kick off at 12:30, which means 7:30 usually, for you guys. So it's an early start. As you say, you maybe need to sit tight before the bar fully opens at 9, but there's a lot of commitment to be there. But what a game to be there for. And that fixture always matters. People, you might hear the term dead rubber. Celtic last week were 16 points clear. In the bigger picture, it won't make a huge impact on the league table and the final standings, I don't think. But it always matters, and it's sore to lose last week. For example, even though there's no real difference to where the title will be heading, and I'm sure you guys are feeling that absolutely. Patrick, I'll come back to you. You've mentioned the 5th anniversary celebrations then of a few weeks ago. What did that look like? Is that one big day? Is there a couple of events? Is there music? What's that like?
Oh boy, we made I want to say almost like a four-day weekend out of it. We had some early arrivals on Thursday, so we took a bunch of people out to the Pittsburgh Penguins game. They're playing the Philadelphia Flyers, so it's a crosstown rivalry, so that was big. It was a really good time. Friday, one of our members, Brendan Delaney, did a really great job commemorating Phil Murray. Phil Murray he played on the original team. The very first Celtic match. He emigrated to Pittsburgh. He also sponsored his nephew to come over to Pittsburgh, who became a big labor leader in Pittsburgh. So he's buried here in Pittsburgh. So we had a great ceremony there. He gave a really good commemorative. We did a little pub crawl. Friday night we had some music over Cork Harbor Pub. Saturday was the match that we kind of built everything around. We had a really great time. In the evening Saturday, we moved over to another pub, the Pitch on Butler. It's Sean was saying Brian Muha's new football pub. And our very own Celtic band did about an hour's worth of music. So Sean, Clinton, a number of people who are in our CSC played a bunch of songs. We had a great time, sang some Rebel songs, had a really good send off for everybody.
That sounds a lot of fun. A lot of fun. You'll need to let me know when the 6th anniversary celebrations are taking place. Clinton, what was it like? Was it a great weekend?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Well, the one of the unique things about the Pittsburgh, I know we mentioned it earlier, but full of musicians. Who knew? Founded by 2 musicians, and then everybody that's coming to hang out is so musically talented. We had an 8-piece band, all of club members, and we're playing all these great songs and carrying on. But a really great weekend. Blown away by all the supports of the CSCs across the U.S. that came out to support, and some people came over from overseas as well. Just great folks looking and with all the right mentality and attitude and there for a good time. And I think we gave it to them. We had, just like Patrick said, we had a great time Friday and then a great win on Saturday into a wild evening of music and song and food. And, we put our best foot forward to showcase our city as well as our club. And it was cool, and we got great feedback from everyone. So pretty proud of what we did.
Yeah, I was just about to say it sounds like there's a lot of pride there as well, which is great to hear, and that's a part of it. It's you mentioned, Clinton, that you want to show off the club and you want to bring newcomers in and maybe have them in for a Celtic Rangers game, but there's clearly a lot of pride there, which is really amazing to hear. Sean, we're heading towards the end of the recording, and we've obviously spoken about the big 5th anniversary. What does the future of the CSC look like, or what are your hopes for the coming years?
Well, I think that I would love it if we just continue to grow. I think that everybody would agree that we've grown exponentially even in the past probably 2 years since our move to Cork Harbor, where we're getting a pretty solid numbers even at 7:30 in the morning. And then obviously at the big matches or the later matches, we're getting 50, 60 people consistently. Continue our great charity work and really try to, just kind of keep expanding, spreading the good word of Celtic, to as many people as possible. I think, really kind of connecting and trying to build a really good network of CSCs in the States, Canada, to really be able to do some really incredible things, that, each club I think is kind of taking on, on their own, but to really kind of make it, a group effort to do some really incredible things, which I think is totally possible. And, if anything, the having everybody come in and help celebrate our 5th year, a couple of weeks ago, really kind of cemented in me that, everybody really is on the same page when it comes to wanting to work together and make something really special here in the States, despite, it being insignificant.
Most folks tuning in may get the reference from a recent episode of the Celtic Exchange where we spoke with David Lowe. David Lowe probably won't mind me saying this, but yeah, it raised a few eyebrows and maybe ruffled a few feathers because it's clear just how much work goes into, you guys. I'm speaking to you guys today. I'm going to be speaking to various other CSCs across the States in the weeks ahead, and we have spoken to groups last year. We at the Celtic Exchange absolutely don't underestimate the amazing work that you guys put in the name of Celtic. On that note, Sean, before I forget, I know that guys can find more info about you at PittsburghCSC.com, I believe is the website. But if anyone was looking to look you up, if anyone found themselves in town on a match day or approaching match day, where's the best place to get you? Is it on the socials? And if so, where can they find you?
Yeah, we have, we're pretty much on every social: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, and Blue Sky as well. So easily, or Pittsburgh CSC at gmail.com as well. We're pretty good with keeping ourselves out there to be contacted easily.
Yeah, and
we
just
love visitors. We love visitors. So
yeah, I was going to say, would any newcomers be welcome on a match day at the Cork Harbour pub?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Come on in, Seth Clinton.
We love
Sean,
it.
Thank you for that. Just to close out then, guys, I'll come to Clinton and then Patrick for your own final thoughts. Clinton, I'll come to you first. Been great to hear, so much about the club and I suppose what makes your club unique, in its own way. But your own final thoughts for today.
Yeah, I just want to kind of echo what Sean said. What I see with this club in the future is growth and opportunity to do good, which is something that I care a lot about, and I just want to continue to build on that. It's really been as a young, not a young person, unfortunately, but not as a young Celtic supporter, learning about this community and its global presence, and now having a presence in Pittsburgh, thanks to people like Sean and Patrick and everybody in our club that works hard. I just want to continue to, everyone I meet, that's not from here, that is a Celtic supporter, is just really fascinated with our story, and they're they just keep cheering us on, and it's pretty cool. Like that, meeting the folks from Philly, the folks from Chicago, the folks from Detroit, the folks from Cleveland. And they're just like, hey, this is impressive. Keep going. And I feel, like I'm representing them. We are representing them and representing CSCs across the whole country. And I just want to see, that kind of growth and those kind of things continue. And I'm really stoked to be a part of it.
Yeah, brilliant to hear. And it sounds like you've got a lot of backing and a lot of support out there. I suppose locally, from folks in Pittsburgh, but also in the wider community out there in the States. Patrick, looks like the final word goes to you. So your final thoughts on all things Pittsburgh CSC.
I would say that, number one, we're looking forward to our 10th anniversary Fela. So, we're looking that far down the line. Like we're growing, and we want to keep setting a standard. And there's a lot of supporters clubs in Pittsburgh, but there's only one Pittsburgh Celtic Supporters Club, and our match day experience is in and of itself just a fabulous time. So we want to keep showing everybody that, and we want to encourage everybody, if you're ever in town, come check us out, and you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Guys, from my side of things, all that's left is for me to say a massive thank you to Sean, to Clinton, to Patrick from the Pittsburgh CSC. If anyone finds himself in that part of the world, absolutely look the guys up. It sounds like you'll have a brilliant time. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us here on the Celtic Exchange. We'll see you all again really soon.